Hi, my name is Steve Stine, and what I'd like to do today is show you a few things that are included in my Modes for Guitar course that will be coming out real soon. What I call this is a pentatonic expansion, and what it is a really great way of being able to view your fretboard since you probably already know your pentatonic scales, learning how to expand that pentatonic to become diatonic or modal, okay? Now, there's all kinds of cool things, and we talk about all the modes and break them down in great detail, but in this clip, what I want to do is just show you some really neat things that you can start using right away. So if I take my A minor pentatonic scale here, what I'm going to do with that scale to make it more interesting and to sound more modal or diatonic, I'm going to add in a note called the ninth, or you can also refer to it as the second. I'm going to call it the ninth, though. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the first string, where we'd normally have 5th and 8th frets. I'm going to add in the 7th fret with my ring finger. So instead of just playing this, what I'm going to do is add in this. And what you're going to notice is just by adding that one note, it makes it sound a lot more melodic. And the reason, of course, being when I add that 7th fret, I get my first half step. Okay, the downside to pentatonic is the pentatonic doesn't have any half steps whatsoever. The upside is pentatonic doesn't really have any wrong notes, and of course that's why I want to teach you all about modes so you know which notes that you're supposed to add when. But this ninth is a really great note to add for melody, and also in situations when you're not exactly sure what mode you should be using. 9 out of 10 times, this ninth is going to sound really, really nice. Now again, what you're going to notice as I play is it adds a lot of melodic sound to my solo. So instead of just going up and down through the pentatonic, if I do this, okay, now I can also add that ninth in. You'll notice again I'm at the 7th fret of the first string. If I go to the 4th fret of the 3rd string, it's an octave. The note I'm adding in right now is B. That's the ninth, okay? Now again, what the ninth is, all of that stuff is described and explained in the course, but just accept it for right now and use it and have some fun with it, okay? So spice up your playing a little bit. What we're going to do is take that ninth now. So nice it sounds down here on the 4th fret. Okay? So that's a nice safety net that you can use when you're trying to solo over something. You're not sure what to use, but you want to make it more than just pentatonic. You can add in that ninth. It's going to sound great. Okay. Once we really start trying to define our modes, one of the notes that we can add in is referred to as the minor second or a flat six, depending on what you want to call it. What I'm doing is going to the 6th fret of the 2nd string, and I'm going to add in that note as well. Now, this note's a little more touch and go because it really does start defining a certain mode, and that mode is going to be called Aeolian. The common term would be natural minor. Okay, so I've got, for instance, here's my pentatonic, which was 5/8, 5/8, and then what I did was I added in that ninth, which was this. Well, now I'm going to add in that 6th fret, which is the minor 6th. I'm going to add that in. And now all of a sudden it begins to sound more like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, you're going to notice. Okay? So now I've got 2 half steps. And really all I did was take my pentatonic and I added in the 7th fret of the 1st string and the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And again, in the course, we're going to define all these modes and talk about them, break them down and build them back up so you understand exactly which one is which and how they work and how they compare to each other. But again, for now, just have some fun with this and see if you can utilize it in your playing. Okay, so now, again, with these half steps, it makes a more melodic sound, but here's what I like to do with those too. I like to bend to half steps. So for instance, I might come down something like this. And use a nice little bend there on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, bend it up a half step. Okay, and by adding that, you've created natural minor, which is one of the more common minor scales that we use when we solo, certainly in rock, metal, things like that. Now let's do this. Let's take that 6th that we just did, and let's move it up 1 fret to the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and now we're playing what's called a major 6th, or a raised 6th. okay? So now, again, pentatonic, I had 5-8, 5-8. I added in my ninth. Well, now I'm going to add in the raised sixth or major sixth, and I get what's called Dorian. So the only difference between Dorian and Aeolian is that sixth. So Dorian. Now Dorian's a really cool scale because it utilizes, it's utilized very well over blues, over bluesy rock and roll, things like that, and certainly in a pure Dorian form, which we'll talk about in the course as well. But let me kind of show you how I could utilize this Dorian to give it more of a bluesy sound. Okay. Okay, and then what I could do is actually add in the blues note. I get all kinds of cool stuff. So you see, by simply changing that one note, you get Aeolian or Dorian. And of course, you can understand how, if you're not sure if you're supposed to be using Aeolian or Dorian, you might not want to add the sixth at all, and that's when you could just utilize the ninth, you see. And again, we're going to talk about all of those things. I'm going to clarify everything for you in this Modes for Guitar course that I've got coming out. All right? Now, let's take a look at one more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that minor sixth, which was the 6th fret of the second string. And instead of using the ninth here on the 7th fret, I'm going to change to a flatted 9 by going to the 6th fret. So again, start with pentatonic, and then I'm adding in 6th fret and 6th fret of the 2nd and 1st strings. And now I get what's called Phrygian. And Phrygian's kind of a little more, a little different than the other ones. If I play it for you, you kind of hear what it sounds like. So you see, if I wanted to play something over maybe a hard rock or a metalcore progression, where I wanted a bit more exotic sound, I might use Phrygian. Phrygian probably wouldn't lend itself very well over something like blues, but it really does have kind of a unique sound to it. Okay? So you see, just simply by moving certain notes around, we get different kinds of sounds. And that's the most important thing I want you to understand about all of these modes. Modes have their own qualities, almost more moody. Each one is moody in its own way. They all have different kinds of qualities to them. And what I want to do is I want to explain to you both the in-depth usage of each one of these modes and also the simplistic usage of them too, so you can get going on using them right away in your own playing. So there's a few tips for you. Hopefully you can use that in your playing, and I will see you soon at Guitar Zoom.